As Hezbollah and Israel continue to trade fire, the U.S. State Department is warning American citizens to leave Lebanon. The security alert issued on Saturday. U.S. citizens instructed to leave via commercial flights that are still taking off in the region. The government agency added there is no guarantee the government will be able to evacuate U.S. citizens and their families. The caution comes on the same day the leader of Hezbollah said the terrorist group is willing to go all in and will not kowtow to the U.S. Joining us now to talk more about the Israel-Hamas war is former Naval Intelligence Officer and member of the Hoover Institution, John Jordan. John, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Good to be here again, Natasha.
John, we are seeing these latest images coming out of Gaza. So many places flattened. The humanitarian toll is undeniable. The UN and some U.S. lawmakers are calling for a ceasefire. Do you feel that this would only give Hamas the ability to regroup?
Well, certainly, that's the only possible effect it could have. Hamas right now is on the run. Hamas leadership is surprised by the ferocity and effectiveness of the Israeli response. But here's kind of something that's going on below the radar that people aren't yet talking about, Natasha, and that is we talk about these vast tunnel systems, but it turns out that the tunnel systems in the north are not really connected to the tunnel systems in the south. So given the speed of the Israeli advance, a lot of the Hamas leadership is actually kind of trapped in Gaza City and northern Gaza. And that's why they put out these feelers lately, probably as an attempt to stall, offering for a pause for some of the hostages to be released. But it's really going to be interesting. I think that Hamas was surprised. I know that Hamas was surprised, and Hezbollah is surprised too. And that's going to be the next area to watch, is to see how involved Hezbollah gets.
Certainly, and we are tracking this move by U.S. senators, a new bipartisan proposal that would threaten military strikes against Iran if Hezbollah attacks Israel. I mean, if Hezbollah does attack Israel and the U.S. responds by striking Iran, does that plunge us dangerously close to open war?
Yeah, I think that, this is impinging upon, although I'm not a fan of how the Biden administration has conducted this, I think this is kind of a bad precedent, having Congress do this, even on a bipartisan way. And here's part of the problem with that, Natasha, is what is the definition of attack here, right? There's different gray areas. By one definition, Hezbollah has already launched rockets into Israel. There's even reports of some infiltrators and ground fighting going on. So by that definition, that's already happened. And so you don't want to hamstring the administration, because part of deterrence is creating in the mind of your adversary some degree of uncertainty. So I think that hopefully we can deter, and Israel can deter Hezbollah from going forward, but that's really up to Iran, and Iran's going to have to decide how far they're willing to go for Hamas.
I mean, do you feel the Biden administration has done enough to deter Hezbollah and Iran at this point? And if not, what specific action do you feel is called for?
Well, deterrence is one of those things you don't really understand if it's failed until after the fact, right? So all we know right now is that Hezbollah and Iran seem to be pursuing the strategy, and the Russians love to call this escalate to de-escalate, slowly ratcheting up the pressure to see how far they can push it before there's a Western or an Israeli military response into Lebanon. They want to continue to turn Arab public opinion and fire up public opinion and put pressure on Israel, but that strategy so far is not working. But this is in that gray area of seeing how far they can push it before they really trigger a response. I think that the Israelis can handle Hezbollah and Lebanon alone without Western involvement, fortunately, but the U.S. is there to backstop it just in case.
I want to talk about public opinion, because we saw a very large protest in D.C. this weekend. Americans marching who are pro-Palestine, calling for a ceasefire. And when you look at polling as well, it shows there is a generational divide here, an increasing number of young Americans who sympathize with Palestinians over Israelis. We are nearing the 1-month mark since October 7th. Do you think that Israel should release more images, more video of what happened that day, so that the American people have a full understanding of what they are fighting, what they are reacting to?
Well, you just touched on it, right? This is one of the great new battlefields of the 21st century, and that's information warfare and battling to shape public opinion. And Hamas has proven to be quite adept at this, primarily using TikTok, because this is the TikTok generation, and that's the platform most responsible for this on the younger demographic and the left side of the American body politic. And that is controlled by China, and I don't think that's a coincidence. That is the Chinese Communist Party controlling that. They're benefiting from oil sales from Iran, discounted oil from Iran, while this is also connected to the Ukraine war. So I think we want to look at how connected America's adversaries are. But that said, you see that public opinion in the United States is divided. It's tearing the Democrat Party apart. There's internecine warfare in D.C. You see young Democrats putting bloody handprints on the walls of the gates of the White House, for goodness sake. You see Muslim Americans who supported Joe Biden by 59 points in Michigan threatening not to support him at all. This is politically very important domestically with enormous ramifications for 2024 as well. And I hope that our leadership puts statesmanship and America's safety ahead of domestic political concerns.
All right, John Jordan, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.